Now that we've taken a look at exceptions, and in a different video called System Exception Classes, I talked about some of these exception classes that you can use right here. I want to show you how to throw your own exception. And I'm going to show you kind of a silly little example here, but show you how easy this can be. For example, let's go back, and I'm in the VTC exceptions example that we did. Actually, we built this in probably exception basics, and then in catching an exception we took a deeper look at this. But what I want to show you now is, what if I want to throw my own exception? I want to generate my own error message that pops up when something goes wrong. Well, to do that, let's add our own little functionality here. Let's say that when the user clicks on this button, notice in my form design we're asking the user to put a number in the text box, and then when we click the button it multiplies it by 2 and it puts the result actually on the button itself. Now let's say that when the user puts that number in and they click that button, back here in our button click event, notice we have this try catch, and we're catching the exception here. So any exception that's raised here gets caught here and reported to the user in our message box. And if you remember, we're just putting in here an error has occurred, the error message is, we're putting a couple of new lines in there, and then we're putting whatever message comes back from the exception that gets caught. Well, we can throw our own exception at that thing. I want to show you the first way here, or the first method, and just to show you how it works, all I have to do is type throw new exception, and now I'm going to finish that out, and then what I'm going to put is the message. There has been a problem. One of those good generic Microsoft-ish kind of error messages. Now, I want to show you something that's going to happen here when I run this. As long as I put in the correct data type, which is an integer, in that text box, I'm going to get this exception right here. So let's just run this and take a look. And so I put a 2 in, and I click the button, and you'll notice it has thrown the exception. It says an error has occurred. The error message error message is there has been a problem. Now, if I violate my early requirement that this needs to be an integer, notice, then I get a different error message. Input string was not in the correct format. And this is something that's fundamental to these exceptions, and you'll have to watch. Because when I put string characters in there, this basically generates an error right here, because we're trying to convert that string data to an integer 32, and it starts to have problems. Okay? And it creates an error, and rather than breaking the program, the error is thrown and it's caught down here, and it says that we've input the invalid data type or invalid format or whatever that says. I can't remember that long. But since if we do it correctly, we don't get an error message, and right here we're just basically throwing an error message that says there has been a problem and it's caught here. Now, you probably won't do that very much. What usually happens is that we go down here and we have part of our try code here is that we make a call out based on this data, and we'll actually talk about this in a different video. But let's say that for whatever reason I make a call out to another function, and down here I will do private void mark ex, and then in my code block I will put this throw new exception. Follow along with me here, and then I will come down and close this out. Now let's say, to make this a little easier to understand, okay, we're going to say that whatever number they put in that text box, we're going to check the database. And we're going to warn that there is a backorder situation here. Now notice what's going to happen. They're going to put their numbers in, input them, and then we're going to call this. Now in the real world we would pass the value they gave us and we would pass it in here, but I just want you to see that I can kick execution out to another function somewhere and then raise an error there, and it will come back into here and get caught here. So let's do that. So I'll execute this, and I'll come back here and I'll put 6, and it's going to do it every time. And I click this and it says, wait a minute, item not in stock. And notice, simply because I did some sort of check out here, and in some if statement or whatever, I came back from the database that I didn't have any of these in stock, I can throw an exception and cause it to come in here. Now, a lot of ways you can do things here, I understand, but I just want to kind of plant it in your brain how you can throw your own exceptions very, very easily here and cause your programs to stop, put all kind of warning messages up for your users, and direct them through the application. So that's throwing an exception. Very easy. Here's the syntax right here. Throw new exception, items not in stock, and that creates your own. If I want to throw any other kind of exception, I can just simply type throw exception and then put the name of that exception out there and leave the new off. So anyway, go out there and take a look and play with throwing exceptions.